Okay, Captain Sharma, you're setting up a greenfield port. Of course, it's a captive port to the. But do you think there is a possibility of? Would you be interested in getting capital from some of the financiers, or how do you really look at? Maybe you can describe a little bit about what you have done in Goa as well as in trying to do in Jaigarh.
In fact, I started from Mundra.
Okay, yeah, please, you have all three experiences. So,
but if you go back to Mundra, at that time we envisaged only a 40,000 salt ship to be loaded. And when we were walking across on that day, I remember that it was purely out of a compulsion what was happening in Kandla port. 28 days waiting, 30 days waiting. So group was into trading and we were paying a lot of demurrage. So we thought of setting up this port in Mundra. As you envisaged a greenfield, you yourself said that the potential which has to be seen ahead. There were apprehensions. We started with much lesser funds than what you have even mentioned. Valuation at 2 billion is fantastic. What we have spent there is, in those terms, is very less. It's the potential which was seen. Even while locating a container terminal, there was a lot of debate whether it should be on the waterfront or in the creek. But having seen Mundra now, of course, Goa was a terminal which already, because a major port is there, we have set up this terminal. And this terminal also is an example by itself where we turn around a Panamax in less than 2 days. In a given storage of 1 lakh tons, we almost do 5 million tons per annum. These are all through efficiency parameters where we can circumvent TAP, the efficiency scale. But real thrust is in the greenfield where Jaigarh, which is a location, it's about 4 hours drive from Goa north. There is a bay called Daman-Kol Bay where we are coming up with a power plant. So basically in setting up a greenfield port, if you can control 30-40% of cargo, which was the thought process in Mundra also, that if you have a control of 30-40% initial cargo, then you set in and then you reach that stage of 4-5 years, then people look at you. So we are at that stage at Jaigarh now. We will be providing ourselves initially 4 million tons cargo, but it has a potential of even 30 million tons cargo.
but are you looking at only group cargo, or it could be a multi-purpose third party?
Discussion with the maritime board that how they would like to look at it as a greenfield or they would leave it as a private captive port. We will have about 4 berths. We will be catering to Panamax direct loading, and there will be a breakwater. The entire thing is costing about 400 crores now. It has potential of a greenfield port and also an SEZ there. We have about 2,000 acres of land adjacent to the waterfront. So I see a lot of potential there, and also it is out of TAMP, you are blessed.
See, a lot of ports are developing the model is that there is a large industrial house which is setting up a plant. It could be a power plant or a steel plant in their case, or of course it's a power plant, and steel plant was there for Goa. So they have a dedicated cargo which takes care of the first level of investment, and the greenfield issues get closed. And subsequently they look at the port to develop it as a multi-cargo user port facility. Like Gangavaram port, where Wabag has invested, is primarily a captive port facility for Vizag steel plant, which mitigates the risk for the minimum cargo throughput. And then on top of it, they are looking to develop. HPCL refinery there is trying to increase and probably double the capacity, so they require additional land. And there are, they have a deep draft, so they can get bigger ships, and the whole logistics decide that it's the port could have a takeoff in terms of the cargo. There is an NTPC power plant, so which is looking at getting additional coal imported from outside. So we have seen so many of these shippers-driven port facilities In fact, Mundra itself was originally Adani's own captive requirement, and that's
that's what 30-40%. Initially, we started with 80% Adani.
Yes.
Then there was an internal competition. We started going for external cargoes, and now it is probably 20% Adani, 80% outside.
Right.
But it started that you have a base cargo, then you can think of greenfield. Without a control over a certain percentage of cargo, a greenfield site today is still difficult.
In fact, one of the most talked about deal which happened in port sector in terms of course, going over was P&O getting into MI-City, which was they paid close to $200 million for getting into it. So I mean, Nikhil, what did you see in that Mundra at that point of time? And because you could have gone along with private equity people also to mitigate the risk, and maybe some of the new investments by corporates, port developers could also be like that, like the way Musk has invested with a bunch of private equity people in Pipavav. But in terms of potential, what was so exciting about Mundra at that point of time? Because that was very nascent at that time. Now, of course, it's done well.
I think there's no secret. There's a huge cargo requirement. So there we were quite comfortable. And more importantly, Mundra, from our point of view, was not really greenfield when we went. It was what we would call brownfield.
Okay.
So it had the infrastructure connectivity. And we were confident that because of our experience in Nhava Sheva and Chennai, that we could create a facility there that would be number one. And that gave us the confidence to go into that project. So it was the cargo demand and backup infrastructure.
But is that the kind of thing which is a sort of a, okay, it's not exactly like a terminal like an necessity. From day one you have a cargo which could build up substantially. It is not like a greenfield facility which is waiting to happen over a period of time. It's a sort of a cross between the two. I mean, do you think those are the kind of terminals or the port facilities where private equity would be quite, there is a possibility?
Very much.
Okay.
Because the infrastructure was there, so the risk is so much lower.
Right.
And we ourselves had the business plan that I talked about. We knew
Right.
how we could develop the project. And we knew that there was a huge pent-up demand because we were operating in Nhava Sheva, we were operating in Chennai, so we knew the terrain.
But in India, when you look at across, now you're of course looking at a pan-India basis. Do you see such kind of opportunities available all over on an all-India basis when we talk of different ports?
I think there are still opportunities. But unfortunately now there are so many opportunities, it becomes more and more difficult to pick the right ones.
Oh.
But there are opportunities.
Okay.
That's what I do.
It's a word of caution here, the
Yeah.
port sector investors as well as financiers. While going for a port site and getting the approvals and clearances, let's not cut corners, from the regulatory point of view.
Okay.
And also to regulators, while doing introspection, I would like to say that we should also have very clear policy laid down that who is going to regulate that port. Will it be the central government, state government, what part? I'm just sharing why the concerns, We take, for example, what has happened today. LPG carrier, while trying to come alongside Pillar Jetty, it has drifted, it has gone aground. It is now aground just half a kilometer from the beach, and it's a serious threat to 10,000 people in Ratnagiri, that region. These people, the ship is still aground. The port has virtually come to a standstill. There are 2 ships waiting outside. The town people are agitating that they will not allow, EIL has been filed in the High Court, but they will not allow any ship to come alongside. And they would probably go and try to make sure that no ship ever comes. So what happens to that investment which has come to that terminal? So it is.
You're talking about the Phenolics terminal at Ratnagiri.
The terminal itself, and also the industry, which is a captive kind of thing.
Right.
So maybe we are still trying to investigate that what caused the whole thing. But the point is that